Hi again, Gregg Bell, the News Tribune here at CenturyLink Field in Seattle, where you saw the most rousing and impressive win of this Seahawks season by far. 24-10, they beat the previously soaring Philadelphia Eagles, ending the Eagles' 9-game winning streak, but more importantly for Seattle, of course, moving back into the NFC playoff picture. They're currently the 5 seed at 8-4. They stayed 1 game behind the Rams, who won in Arizona today, and the Rams are coming here in 2 weeks. How'd they do it? I thought it was a masterful game plan defensively by Kris Richard. As he had in the previous 2 games, he started this game, actually the first 3 quarters of this game, relying on 7 men in coverage and only 4 rushing the passer, his 4 down linemen on the defensive front. They got home. Frank Clark had 2 sacks for 15 yards. Sheldon Richardson had 2 quarterback hits. Michael Bennett was in the backfield. They got home with the front 4, and they had the Eagles to just 3 points through 3 quarters. Then in the 4th quarter, Richard unleashed the blitz at the most opportune and unexpected time for the Eagles. It was 4th down and short. It was a 17-3 game. The first time in 25 dropbacks of the game, it was actually about 30 dropbacks by that point. The first time they blitzed in the 4th quarter, KJ Wright coming in off the defense's left edge, untouched. Nobody picked him up. The defense had shifted. I talked to Wright after the game in the locker room, and he said the defense shifted to the middle, expecting perhaps a Bobby Wagner blitz. Wright came free off the offense's right end, forced Wentz into a throw he didn't want to make with nobody open. 4th down, turnover on downs. Seahawks got the ball and were never threatened closer again. Then on a 3rd down play, on a later drive in the 4th quarter, they sent nickelback Justin Coleman on a blitz. And then the 3rd blitz of the 4th quarter and of the game was Bobby Wagner up the middle on 4th and 6. Wagner forced Wentz to throw a wild pass, incomplete, and that was the Eagles' really their last chance to score a touchdown. So they played back, and then when the game on the line in the 4th quarter, Richard sent the blitzes and they were decisive. How else the Seahawks held a team that was averaging 32 points a game and leading the NFL to just 10 points? Sheldon Richardson. I've been talking about him for months. Maybe tired of me talking about him, but tonight I bet you weren't tired of seeing him. He had been dominating the games, often dominating games on the defensive line, but just pushing blockers around, tying them up, freeing Wagner to make many of his tackles. That's how he won previous games. Tonight, he had as big of impact as you can have as a defensive lineman on the play he made in the 3rd quarter. 10-3 game. The Eagles look like they have their first momentum and rhythm of the game in the first drive of the 2nd half. Wentz takes off on inside the 10 on a run that's headed to the goal line. Richardson is getting blocked, comes off his block, knocks the ball away from Wentz just before he reaches the goal line. The ball, he hit it so hard, the ball catapulted 12 yards past the back line of the end zone for a touchback. So instead of a 10-10 tie that was 1 yard away from happening, the Seahawks stayed up 10-3, ended up scoring on Tyler Lockett's first touchdown catch of the season to make it 17-3. That's how big a play that was for Sheldon Richardson to make, and Pete Carroll said that was the play that turned the game. Offensively, more magic from Russell Wilson. You saw the flip, the option flip in the open field at midfield after he was already 7 yards downfield on a scramble to Mike Davis over his right shoulder. Davis ran for 17 more. That got the Seahawks down to the 35-yard line on yet another scoring drive. Totally improv play. Wilson afterwards joking that no, that's not in the progression of the receivers he's supposed to be reading. Definitely not in the progression. And he made another crazy scramble play, threw back across his body to Nick Vannett. The touchdown pass that ended that drive was down the left sideline, in the opposite end zone to J.D. McKissick, who was wide open. Wilson pumped his right fist, pointed at the Seahawks sideline for the call, and that made it 24-10. Wilson, very efficient again, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, a quarterback rating of 118. Wentz, the 2 key, the interception late wasn't so key. The game was in desperation mode by then. Byron Maxwell caught it in the end zone, but the key fumble, ended up throwing for 350-some yards through 43 times. But the most valuable of the 2 quarterbacks tonight, the more valuable of the 2, was Russell Wilson. Of course, Wentz getting named in MVP talk, but Wilson once again 80+% of the team's offense and yardage, although he had help tonight with Mike Davis. As I mentioned, a new lead running back. Davis is here to stay now. It looks like it's a lead back. He was on the practice squad till last month. 64 yards plus another, what do you have, 40-some receiving, 4 catches for 37 more yards. You get 100 total yards in the Seahawks backfield this season. That's pretty Herculean with what the running backs have been producing up to now. Thomas Rawls only got in the game in the second half for the first time only after Davis was tired after his miraculous flip play with Wilson. That's the only reason that Rawls even got on the field. Eddie Lacy only got in for a couple plays in short yardage near the goal line. So it's Mike Davis in the backfield, the former San Francisco 49er cast on. After the game, Bradley McDougald said, "We heard the Eagles saying that this defense was changed, and the Seahawks defense was changed without Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor, and Cliff Averill. Nothing to worry about." He said they heard that, and they think they proved tonight differently. Doug Baldwin said after the game in the locker room, "It wasn't that we're trying to prove everybody wrong, we're trying to prove ourselves right." KJ Wright came up to me 4 days after he said, "Don't sleep on us, man." Saw me in the locker room and he said, "Are you woke?" I think the NFL woke up tonight on the Seahawks being not quite dead, and in fact right in the middle of the NFC playoff chase. They'll head to Jacksonville next week. No major injuries that they'll have to worry about coming out of this game is another plus. In fact, that game was switched from a 10 o'clock Pacific kickoff to 1:25 is another plus. But the Jaguars have the #1 ranked defense in the NFL, and they're 8-4, tied for the AFC South lead. So another big test for the Seahawks next week. Then the Rams, as I said, come home here to Seattle for what could be the NFC West title in 2 weeks. Season reviving win for the Seahawks tonight. You'll follow my coverage all week, if you will, on thenewstribune.com and at Twitter @GBellSeattle. Thanks for watching.